Hey, welcome to episode 15 of the Real, Raw and Relevant show with your host, Lockie. Hey, if it's your first time as well, joining us, thanks for checking us out. For all you faithful people checking us out every time we put out a show, hey, thanks for continuing to be on the journey with us. On this episode, we're sharing the latest of our interviews as part of our What Is It Like series. So this time we've hooked up an interview with Phil Edwards, who is essentially Taupō's top cop. So I'll be sharing that with you real soon. Hey, if you like what we're doing here on the show, please don't forget to like, share, and comment. That always really helps to get the word out there. Hey, and it also makes me feel good. And I have to figure out a better way of saying things apart from saying hey. I've just realized I've said hey something like 6 times already. Anyway, if you'd like to support us, again, sharing about what we're doing is really helpful and means the world to me. If you'd like to support us in some way to keep the show happening, we have a system set up called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy me a virtual coffee, which supports the show. I'm going to post a link in here for you to check that out. But essentially, if you go to buymeacoffee, all one word, .com/Lockie, you get all the details. Enough for the intro. Let's roll the stinger. I'll be back with you real soon. I had an idea a while ago that it might be fun to talk to some people who operate in a very public space, to find out what it's like being them, see if we can learn something from them, find out how we could possibly relate, all those sorts of good things. And so we created this series called What Is It Like? Might not be the most imaginative title in the world, but I thought it kind of summed it up nicely. So far, we've had interviews with MP Louise Upston. We've had an interview with Bob McCoskrie of Family First fame. And tonight, we're sharing an interview that I did and actually recorded a few weeks ago with Phil Edwards, as I mentioned earlier. He's Taupō's top cop. He's officially Taupō's area commander. And that's the region that I live in. So maybe you're like me and you've wondered what it's like being a police officer these days, even wondering what you're supposed to call them, policeman, policewoman, police person, all those sorts of things. Is it hard? Is it a likable job? How do you handle the abuse? Because you see people just absolutely going to town and calling the police certain other P words and all sorts of bits and pieces. And I had some questions around that and some other things. So strap in, get comfortable. Hope you enjoy this interview, and I hope you also learn something from it like I have. We'll catch you on the flip side. Here we are, a little bit different for our interview today. Joining me actually in our little studio here, it's my pleasure to welcome Phil Edwards from New Zealand Police here in Taupō. So welcome along, Phil.
Kia ora, Lockie.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
It's an honour to have you here. So Phil is his claim to fame, maybe that's not the right way of saying it, but he is the area commander here in Taupō, married and 4 kids.
4 kids.
Well done, that's amazing.
Busy at home.
Yeah, well, and I've only had 2, so you're doing better than me. I'll get that bit of paper out of the way. So before we talk Phil now, can we talk about younger Phil? Like, where did you grow up, your family life, that sort of thing? A bit of background about you.
Yeah, so age of 3, mum and dad moved to Taumarunui. So dad was involved in the railways. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in Taumarunui, which is an hour and a half from here, towards the mountains. And yeah, I have very good childhood memories growing up. Went to Matapuna Primary School over there, which is now closed. Turaki Primary School. Ended up at Taumarunui Christian School, where I got up to a bit of no good there and ended up being homeschooled for the last part of my schooling. Yeah. But we won't talk too much about that, I guess. Grew up in the Baptist church over there. Great memories of Sunday school, great memories of youth, and really good memories of friends over there. Really enjoyed the farming environment. We didn't live on a farm, but had lots of opportunities. I dare say Dad sent me out on the farm to keep me out of trouble, to be fair, which, hey, it worked because I'm sitting here in this uniform here. So left Taumarunui at the age of 16, ended up in Rotorua, where I did a bit of welding, bit of air conditioning for a firm over there. Worked in the computer industry for a good 8 years and joined the police. So,
Awesome.
yeah, a really fond childhood memories, especially at that young adult age, right? Youth groups and cars and things like that.
So you were fairly normal then.
I would hope I was fairly normal. I think based on today's youth, maybe not so normal.
I suppose the reason why I say that is it's probably, and this is why I wanted to talk to you, is people have impressions about who the police are.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
forget that you're actually people behind all the blue that you wear and the gear that you wear and the stab-proof vests and all that sort of stuff. And maybe everybody's favourite item, the dreaded nightstick or whatever it was. But did you always dream of being a policeman? I take it maybe not, yes? Or,
I did. So, funny story, you know the roast chicken. So Mum would do a roast chicken once a week, and in there's the wishbone. And I don't know if you did it, Lockie, but you'd dry it for a couple of days, and then I have a younger brother, and him and I would break the wishbone, right? And we'd say if you won the wishbone, you'd make a wish. And my wish was always from a young age of 5.
Right.
Look, I wish I could be a policeman.
Wow, okay.
And
So are you telling us that works then?
I don't know. There'll be some people that say, really?
Ooh,
And at a young age, like I remember probably 12 or 13, my dad took me into the Taumarunui police station and said, hey, what does my son need to do? And I remember the sergeant at the time, I don't know his name, but he was a big Māori guy. He says, he needs to stay out of trouble. And I'm like, that's easier said than done, probably, but we'll do our best. There was a guy there, Denton Grimes. He's in the police still. He's a senior sergeant in Rotorua. He was quite influential in the early stages of my teenage life, just through sports. I play hockey and rugby and bits and pieces. And so, so to answer your question, I've always wanted to be a police officer, but at that time, as I grew older and went to look at recruiting, the recruiting process for me was a struggle, actually. It took many years for me academically to get to the point in which the police require you to be, to pass those exams. Bearing in mind that I kind of mucked around at school quite significantly. Was in a bit of trouble at school, was quite disruptive, detention after detention after detention. And so if you were to interview some of the people that were around me at the time, especially some of the adults and even some of my teachers, they'd probably be amazed I'm wearing a blue uniform, to be fair.
Oh, it's awesome that you're doing it, and I appreciate you having a chat to us. So I guess that we're in a similar age group, and so would it be fair to say that you watched programs on TV like Chips when you were a kid?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Chips was this TV program based out of, it was California, wasn't it? These policemen who rode motorbikes in short sleeves. There was Ponch and Baker. So there was the traditional blonde-haired white guy, and then the Latino. Was he Latino? I've forgotten his name now. So which one would you have been? Would you have been
Not the
Baker?
blonde guy.
You'd be the other guy. Oh, there we go. We all had the fun growing up as kids, believing we're going to be police. So what do you like most about being in the police? Is it the you get to wear a uniform and everyone's scared of you, or you get to smack people over the head with a nightstick, or is it something else?
Yeah. No, it's definitely something else. I think I've been in 16 years now, and so if I was to go back right to the beginning of 2006, like the truth is I joined the police to drive fast cars and to lock up gang members, and that's a small percentage of our work, right? And I don't know, now for me it's just engaging with the people. There's a lot of talk around, we police the community and things like that, and we do, but one big thing we need to remember is we are the community. This is a job that we do. It's a job that I'm honoured to do. We do take an oath for that, to protect and to serve, to do it without any bias. And the best part of my 16 years, I've done that hand on heart. And I've moved, right? 2006, it's all about driving cars fast, about locking up gang members, whereas now I just love engaging with people. And it sounds a bit of a cliche, but at the end of the day, if we are part of the community, then we need to be able to engage with the community. And there's something really cool about getting to know people. the people with bad behaviour, the people with good behaviour, like we all have one thing in common, that we are broken people, right? And just engaging with people, the good and not so good. I just love that.
Awesome.
I love these stories.
Well, you live here in town. You're part of the community, and you're a normal person outside of wearing a uniform at the end of the day, aren't you? Do you have any sort of like hobbies or fun things you like to do outside of the police?
Yep. I love sport. So my main sport is hockey. You'll see me down at the hockey turf, trying to hit a ball around, but normally bossing kids around and our teenagers. My boy, I've got a 14-year-old, he's playing at hockey at the moment. So he's with the Tauhara First 11, which is pretty cool. So he's got a cool coach, and I'm just down there helping him out and whoever else turns up. So
you're not pulling rank because you're the area commander.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I will go running around. I know I don't really have the build as a runner, but
I've seen you
jog.
Actually, if you're ever in Taupo and going along the lakefront, I could just about tell you when I've seen you along there. I've seen you so many times. So he is running. He's not lying. It's all okay.
Music. I'm a musician, mainly a drummer. Love the drums, and I'll play other instruments, but not very well. And we're at church at 109, of course, as well. And so it's just, hey, we relax, we chill out, but we also go tramping. So if you friends on me on Facebook, you'll see we go tramping as a family. So my wife and 4 kids will go bush.
So you've got a pretty full life then.
Yeah. But it's good. Like, life is busy, but there's moments in life where you can just find rest, right? And my family's one of those places.
So onto some hairy things to talk about. So most of us will have seen on social media different people's interactions with the police. And I mentioned before this interview, I watched a video. I won't even say the place because that's probably helpful not to, but there was recently someone living across the road from where it looked like a search warrant was going to be executed. The person's got their phone out. They're wanting to record it. They're videoing all these police. There was dogs. There's all sorts of things all turning up. And they were abusing the police as they're all charging to the front door. And then the abuse got worse when the person they're looking for wasn't there or whatever, something along those lines. And, you know, it's the swearing, it's all the stereotype negative words about the police. Most of us don't have that. So how do you deal with that as a policeman? Obviously, you're an area commander, so you're encouraging or explaining how to your troops how you deal with this. So how do you deal with it?
Yeah. So I guess to put in a little bit of perspective, we deal with a small percentage of the population, right? And so we will continuously deal with that small percentage of that population. And you are right, you don't see that because you won't normally see us, right? And how do we encourage our people? How do I deal with it? Right at the beginning of my career, not very well. You know, it's so easy to give abuse back, right? It's so easy to get your back up and, you know, say what's on your mind in a way that doesn't really honour you as a person, but also doesn't really honour the organisation in which we work for, right?
Yeah.
And so as an organisation, we have values, we have a whole lot of instructions, code of conduct and things like that. That's in place, right? That's our foundation, but we have to respond, right? And it's up to our personal choice on how we respond. And part of it is resilience. There's an argument, right? We don't deserve that and we shouldn't accept that. And I'm not saying that our people should. But there are times in which we can have conversations and there's times that we shouldn't. And so what we do know in the police is that we're always going to be videoed, especially in today's environment. There's cameras everywhere, you know, Facebook, social media platforms, you can go live. And so for us as an organisation, it's just remembering, hey, we've got to bring professionalism to everything we do. But there's always opportunities to go back and have those conversations with those people. And it's quite interesting, right? The same people abusing us will probably ring us for help later on.
Yeah, well, that's what I wondered, and that's what we kind of talked about.
Talked about that earlier,
the people who are dishing it out are the ones that are getting upset when you're not there in 5 seconds to fix their boo-boo that's gone on in their lives. And I guess
for me, it's just a change of perspective of of who those people are, right? They're noisy, they're reacting somehow, and whether or not it's because they don't feel safe because the police have arrived, whether it's because they're knocking on their friend's door, or there's many reasons.
Or the fact you just want to get social media famous, and here's a great way to do it. I guess just get some likes and shares and your views.
Yeah, that is right. But it's how we react as an organisation. It's how we act as members of police, right? And I'm really proud of our people across New Zealand, and you'll see that, that probably video you watched, you'll probably find that we did respond in a way in which New Zealand would expect us to.
Yeah, well, in that one, I didn't see any one of your team charging across the road and slapping them up sideways, even though, look, I'll be upfront, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but I think as human beings, that's your natural inclination, is you want to defend yourself, you want to, if someone's calling you a beep, 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 animal name, how do I don't even know how to say it without saying all the words, but all that sort of stuff, your natural inclination, even as a guy, being sexist here, is you want to go and dish it back to them. So do you get training for that? Is that something that happens in police college, or is it just something you're encouraged to handle in a different way?
Yeah, police college is a good little setup for us, right? So if you're tactical training, but you always say have tactical comms in the way we communicate. What I like to say to our people is we actually need to take a deep breath. And that's what I've found over the years. Like some days, like it depends on what space you're in as well, eh? And that's where we get into our welfare side of things, like what are you doing to unwind at home, and things like that, you know.
So you're wanting to help avoid your team getting to the red mist phase that everybody else has got to, where all of a sudden your brain switches off and you just act like an animal. So
absolutely.
I don't know how you do it. I like to imagine, not that I want to be a policeman, I just want to go on record. We've talked about it, it's been a bit of a joke in my family, but I don't know if I could handle it that well. It's easy to say, I know what I'd do in that situation, but when you're faced with it and someone's in your face and doing all this sort of stuff, or you see someone taken off down the road, for me, I just want to chuck the siren on and go for it. I'll be like channeling my inner Chips that I grew up with, and I want to be John Baker, and I want to do that stuff. So
And I guess the flip side to that is with technology around, right, we're being filmed. The people that we're looking for have also been filmed, or we as an organisation, we have so many other means to investigate offences and find people. The old-fashioned door knocks one way. Social media is interesting, especially in an open platform. Sending text messages or what have you to people, and so. People do take off from us, and we've had a change in our pursuit policy. But actually, technology helps us, and our people that we recruit are very bright people now.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot about that, but I know, like, as someone from our generation and our experiences of how the police operated maybe 20, 30 years ago, and we look at now, we go, is that the right way to do it? I mean, look, we're not qualified. It is frustrating sometimes watching it. At the same time, we don't want you chasing someone down the road while they're wiping out 20 cars and 20 people in the process. So there's tensions there that I guess when you're not involved, you don't understand what it's really like. And again, that's why I wanted to talk to you. So you mentioned about, asking people to take a breath and all that stuff. One of my questions was, how do you deal with the emotions and adrenaline when you are exposed to those high stress? Maybe you've already answered that, but is it as simple as saying to your team, hey, just take a breath and it's going to be okay? If this was happening in front of you now, what would you be doing? What's your process possibly to...
I think we need to understand that we never police by ourselves. Like there are small pockets of rural towns that they are working in isolation by themselves, but the groups I've been involved in, I've been a part of a team, right? And the strength of a team is that you always have someone that's got a cool, calm, level head, right? And sometimes it's those reminders that say, hey, leave it alone, or take a breath, or we know who he is, we'll come back and grab him later, or we'll have a conversation with that person filming later, giving abuse. It's those type of tips that actually help. And it's that collective team environment. For me, how I deal with some of the adrenaline or the emotions, because I am human, we wear blue uniform, we are all human. Shouldn't be a surprise to people. This is not bulletproof. we are normal people under here, and we are affected by our emotions and what's happening around us. But the big thing is, it comes back to why we wear the uniform, right? And ultimately, we're there to make sure that our communities are safe, to make sure that everybody in our community is safe, and we have to deal with that in a way which promotes that. For me personally, it's been a bit of a journey from me. Like I said, I've told you why I joined the police to where I am now, and part of it, the faith comes in, and just seeing life through a different perspective, if you like. People will always hit out at the blue uniform. They will always say things. They always will challenge you, but it's the way we react, right? Emotions is an interesting thing, because we see a lot of bad stuff, right? We see people at their worst. We see people and meet people that have been beaten, that are either dying or have died, and we have to deal with those families. And I can't speak for all of our members, but for me, I try and find a place where I can just work as work, and I deal with that with my colleagues. We have great welfare support through psychologists and welfare referrals, and we still encourage our people to sit down and talk to people, because we've got to process this stuff. I have a little routine, and I still do it now, even though I'm removed from the street. My uniform is at work. None of my uniform is at home.
Okay, is that normal for most, or is it?
Yeah, we do have lockers and bits and pieces at work, and we're finding that the newer people coming into the organisation tend to wear the uniform home. There's no rules or regulations around that, but what I like to do is I'll get changed at work, and I'll go home. And so
you're creating a boundary, a delineation in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a good mental thing for me, and it works for other cops as well, is that actually when I leave the gate, I'm going back to my family. My family deserve to have the father, the husband, the person, the best person at home.
And someone you can relate to, because I guess if you're wandering around... Sorry, I keep saying the nightstick, because you're wearing your bulletproof vest, your nightstick, your hat, wandering around the home, being an authoritarian. It's probably not going to relate well to your family. So I like the fact you're going, okay, here's my role. I'm Phil, Area Commander now, but when I get home, I'm dad, husband, and all that sort of stuff. Guy goes tramping with his kids. You're able to separate that. Would that be something that you have to help others to develop? It wouldn't be something they just naturally understand, would it?
No, I think our people are really good at transitioning in and out of mahi, out of work. And it's interesting you bring up the authoritarian side of things, because I think the police has a history of being that, and I think it's few and far between now. I think sometimes the community get confused. Like, there are times that we need to turn up, and we actually just need to deal with the job right now, because it's just not safe for everyone. And a lot of the work that we do, we know what's going on in the area or in the house, and we won't communicate that, because there's, as you know, there's rules and laws around all that. But our people are, they have changed, the mindset have changed, the type of people we recruit now are very bright people, very emotionally engaged themselves. And so the authoritarian side of things have kind of slipped away. And so what we're trying to aim for in the New Zealand Police, and this is something I've tried to work on really, really hard, is that Phil Edwards at home is actually a benefit to be the same Phil Edwards in blue uniform, because we get to relate to people a little bit better, right? It's sharing that real self with those people.
So you don't forget that you're a dad when you turn up to work.
That's right.
You haven't put on your vest and now it's like the cape.
It's like the Batman suit.
So I'm wondering, like, for some people, maybe that's, I know for a period of time in another part of my life when I was a lot younger, I wore a uniform for something, and it made you feel different when you put the uniform on. You're still you, but it does influence a little bit about how you think. So I guess that's something you have to learn and process and develop.
And the uniform you can't hide, right, as well. And so our colleagues that are detectives or work in mufti, they blend a bit more. But when you're wearing a blue uniform, and some of our people wear a high-vis jacket because they have to, right? Health and safety rules and bits and pieces, we do stand out, and people's attention is drawn in good and bad ways, right?
So the final thing, and you've alluded to it probably already, is how do you, what did I put here? How do you look after yourself emotionally, spiritually in your role? You've mentioned your faith, and you've talked about how you handle life, I guess. So we've probably covered most of it. But is there anything you'd like to say there about, what role does your faith play in processing what you deal with?
Yeah. So my wife and I we talk about this all the time when I'm out running, dawdling on a run. Faith is huge. Take the uniform off, put the hockey coach away. Without our faith, and I say our faith because my wife and I, our faith is strong as individuals, but collectively, right, as a couple. It plays a huge part. Your prayer, your devotion, just being able to go blah to God, right? There's something so powerful behind that.
Yep.
And, it might be a different forum, but I can look back on my life, 16 years within the police, the good, the bad, the ugly that's happened. I see God's hand on it, right?
Okay.
And so does my wife. We see God's hand throughout our life. And that in itself keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
I think there is potential you could puff your chest up and I'm a child of God, I'm going to do this and say this and I'm only accountable to him. I think that's flawed thinking. Faith is what grounds us, right? And so that has kept me safe emotionally. It's kept my headspace in the right place. And there's times that you kind of fall off the edge a little bit of that grounding, but you always come back.
Yeah, I was going to say that you've got something to come back to. You're not lost in the sea of, what do I do? Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, I find a lot of comfort. I have a wife at home that shares that same faith, that knows God probably more than I do. And that's just, it helps, right? That kindred spirit just works really, really well. And so emotionally and spiritually we're sound, right? And then, because you get home, you've got to deal with 4 children, right, who are challenging, especially coming up to teenage years. And so family life keeps you grounded too. Family life keeps you well. I run, like I said, so physically you've got to stay sharp. And so my view of the world is, and, Paul talks about if our minds are continuously being transformed, then we keep it new, we keep it going. And that's what keeps me safe, awesome. I think.
Thank you so much for your time. It's really helpful. I hope people have got what I wanted to get across was totally respect you. You're the area commander. Like you're someone in charge of a whole group of police in our town.
Yeah.
I don't feel intimidated by you.
That's
I hope
good.
that's okay to say.
That's good. Because I'm just Phil, right?
Yeah. I'm probably thinking the neighbours are freaking out because there's a policeman in the house. But I can have a chat to them later about how awesome you are. But I really appreciate you taking your time, kind of lifting the lid about what it's like being in your role.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Well, thank you for having us. Yeah.
Awesome.
Greatly appreciated.
Wow, that's it for episode 15. If you want to make contact with me in the show, I'm going to post a link to that as well after the show, but you can contact me at lockie@templeproductions.nz. Hey, we hope this has made a measure of difference in your life. Can't wait to see you again real soon.